Top story of the day. I got a few thoughts. I know that might surprise you. Kamala Harris' first big interview as a nominee. It's been several weeks since the DNC, several weeks since her last sit down, and she had to be chaperoned. Now, I got a couple of videos here I could play, but I'm just not going to. I sat here and listened to them over and over, and really it's just a little bit of a snooze fest. It really was not that exciting of an interview. I will say this right off the bat. Dana Bash did push back a little bit against Harris on a few of her statements, a few of her stances, did the same with Tim Walz. So I will give her that. It wasn't a complete layup. So let's go into a couple of the big topics here from the Hill. 5 key takeaways. We're not going to talk about all 5 of them. However, we are going to talk about one of the biggest ones. Harris defends her policy shift. Now, in a very confusing statement, she has said her values have not changed. So her values haven't changed, but the policies behind them have, apparently. Of course, it's not a surprise. We can go back and pull tons of videos and speeches where the wall is not effective. The wall is not going to stop the gang members. The wall is just going to make a market for tall ladders. All these situations. Now the polling continues to come out that immigration is top of the ticket, right behind the economy. And now she's saying we do need a wall. In fact, she needs to start cheering, build the wall, build the wall. That was asked. It was pushed back on, and then it was kind of briefly, she moved aside pretty quick by just talking in a giant circle, much like the question of what would you do on day one? And she just went into a giant circle of we're going to help the middle class and we're going to continue to do what we've done and help people, and really not answering anything. She did reference back to when she had was the prosecutor in California. Another big issue for her is fracking. Just like when Hillary Clinton went to West Virginia and said, yeah, we're going to shut down all these coal plants, aren't we? And it was just silent. Just like, dude, that's like a lot of West Virginia's economy and job base there. Fracking is very important in Pennsylvania, especially right when you leave the cities of Pennsylvania and many of the rural counties. Fracking is huge. It's a huge employer. It's a huge revenue base for the entire state in general. And as late as 2019, there is no question she would ban fracking. Now, she was asked about this. You could tell that she was very uncomfortable. She knew the question was coming. Not to say that she was given the questions, but obviously her team prepped her. Obviously, they're going to ask her about fracking. And then she said, hey, in 2022, I made it very clear where I stand, Harris responded. We're in 2024, and I have not changed that position. So in the last 4 years, she's had a change of heart, apparently. I would not believe that. I don't trust her as far as I can throw her on that. And I don't believe that full-heartedly the people in Pennsylvania and other fracking areas around the United States believe it either. Are there problems with fracking? No doubt. Undoubtedly, there's problems with fracking. Do the risk outweigh the reward? That's yet to be seen. Can we do better? Can we find a cleaner way to actually have fracking and then have a better cleanup afterwards? Yes, I'm sure we can. To completely ban it and move into something else, we don't really have anything that can replace it, and it is much cleaner than burning coal and burning, for instance, oil heaters and whatnot in New England. It is much cleaner than both of those. So in that sense, it is a cleaner substance to use. This was the best one of the night, in my opinion. Dana Bash asked, hey, like 2 months ago, to another point, paying tribute to Biden's intelligence, judgment, and disposition, Harris added, by contrast, the former president has had none of that. She was asking about his cognitive ability. And we all remember it. It wasn't that long ago. Don't let the memory hole you, where it was cheap fakes and Biden's sharp as a tack and Biden's in the Situation Room, and Biden's doing this, and he's great, and he has no issue whatsoever. You're just saying that because you don't like his policies on helping people. And then sure enough, crash and burn, DNC threatens him with the 25th Amendment to remove him from office. So he gives up his presidential campaign. Okay, the DNC stole that from him. Again, I've said this before, but that would be the third, if not fourth time they've stole a presidential candidacy and or election. The DNC this is their status quo really over the last several years or cycles anyway. This is what they do. They will steal the campaign, they will steal your presidency, they will steal your candidacy if you do not fall in line with what the values and policies that they want from their lobbyists, and if they don't think that you can win. They're a private organization, unfortunately, so you really can't do too much about it. But Bernie could have. Bernie could have done something about it. They stole it from him twice. First time he bowed out. I mean, he's he is who he is. He wants to talk about millionaires and billionaires until he becomes a millionaire, and now we're just talking about billionaires. Totally fine. They steal the election from him once, the candidacy, through superdelegates and political maneuvering. He falls in line. He shows up to the inauguration. He goes out and campaigns for them. It was not fair at all. Second time around, they do the same thing. It's him and Joe Biden, and once they get to South Carolina, everyone drops out, and everyone falls in line behind Joe Biden. No one wants to work with Bernie. Apparently, he's not a great person to work with. He's very obnoxious to work with, so I hear. But Harris fully endorses. My thought was, let's see what she had said. Harris did not directly answer whether she would consider Bidenomics a success. So she, again, has been on record saying that Bidenomics is successful. It is the way forward, but now she is backing away from that. But the part in here where it's, hey, so not too long ago you were saying he was like really sharp and really smart, and now you just took his place because you helped in a coup to remove him. So that was actually a really good question. Let's see what else we got. Making an appeal to disaffected Republicans. I think that there are disaffected Republicans, but they are going to go vote, and they're just not going to mark Trump at the top of the ticket. They might leave it blank, but they'll vote down ballot. Like places in Georgia, there was I forget exactly how many tens of thousands of discrepancy between people voting for Trump or voting all Republican down ticket except for Trump. I do think that those people are out there, especially like in the state of Georgia, where Kemp and Donald Trump have this feud going back and forth that they should have, really Trump should have just, took out behind the shed a long time ago and just actually win the damn thing. Walz negotiated some hurdles. I wouldn't say he negotiated them. I think to people that were already voting for him, it was enough. To people on the fence, we'll see. They had asked about, hey, you had several times mentioned on camera you carried weapons of war, about the 2A issue, in war. He said that several times. He's inflated his rank, which is, really not okay. And the whole situation about, he served for 24 years. Once it came time to go to Iraq, he had retired. He put in his retirement paperwork once he found that out. Very good attack line. Why are you discrediting 24 years of service? I think J.D. Vance addressed this very well. He's like, I'm not discrediting his 24 years of service. I'm discrediting the specific things that he lied about. He said he went to war when he didn't. He was part of Operation Iraqi Freedom, I believe it was, or possibly Enduring Freedom. He was in Italy. I would love to go to Italy. As a prior service member myself. I never went to any combat zone, and I just hopped around Asia the entire time, and it was a really awesome experience. I'm never going to go out and say, when I served in whatever, during a time of war. I'm not going to make that jump. People that are outside the service don't understand the nuances of that, and you are giving yourself kind of an extra sense of a level of respect that really you don't deserve. And his was his response. I can speak candidly, and that people, they know where my heart is. Though he acknowledged that his English teacher's wife told him his grammar was not always correct. His grammar was not always correct. Can you use that in court? Like if you lie multiple times over and over and over, is that something that I can say? Well, I mean, my grammar's not always correct. Man, like your grammar's not always correct is like, that's a bit of a reach. But again, I think that's good enough for people that were going to vote for him no matter what. Now they can rationalize it in their head. And people that were already leaning left, the chances of people already leaning left and like jumping over and voting for Donald Trump are low to none. But so this was a good enough answer. And that's what this whole thing was about. This is good enough. This will float them until the debates that they're going to have. If they have 2 debates, possibly, I just don't see that happening. And then here's the cap right here. For Harris, boring is good. That's all she needed. She just needed to show up. She needed to answer a few questions and then walk away. Something about this interview, I want to see if we can get a good shot here. It's pretty close up. Okay, so a couple of things about this. One, I think that this is not the best presentation for Kamala Harris. She doesn't look that powerful. The suit color and everything is very, very Washington, D.C., 3-letter agency. She kind of looks goofy. Like, the memes where it's like a normal body, but then like a slightly bigger head and it's like jutted forward. You know what I'm talking about? That's kind of what it looks like in here, especially with the opening scene. We don't have it here, but it made her kind of look a little goofy, I think. I don't know who on her team planned this out, but I don't think that it says it's a campaign of joy. I think it's really dark. It's a very messy background as well. Kind of looks a little dysfunctional in a way. I think that they could have staged this better. I mean, just objectively, if you're on her campaign and you're trying to put her in the best light, she's only had one interview in 6 weeks, so like, why wouldn't you try? The table was a little high as well, so it makes her look smaller. Maybe that's the angle they're going for, but I don't see that playing out. She looks tired. Man, she looks tired. When she's not laughing, she looks really stressed out about the questions. She's thinking super hard to make sure that she hits the right words and doesn't say anything stupid. You can tell she's very uncomfortable. Walt's leaning in, giving her the emotional support dog kind of effect. Let's move on to this. So, oh yes, that was one more thing. Waltz had another thing that he had lied about. For what reason? I don't know why he was lying about this. So very weird lie to do. I mean, I don't agree with it at all, but I kind of see the whole like embellishing your combat service or your military service, okay? Stolen valor type situation. But this one's really, really weird to me. Walls answered in a similar fashion on a question about what precise kind of fertilization treatment his wife had undertaken, but on that topic, he seemed more on solid ground with the contention that most people are not cutting hairs on IVF or IUI. So he didn't get IVF. I guess that they got IUI. And let's look this up. Fertilization treatment that involves placing sperm directly into the uterus during ovulation to increase the chances of pregnancy. So IVF is where they actually fertilize the egg and then implant it. And this was this attack line on Donald Trump about this Roe versus Wade and the different states now taking control of these different types of treatments and rights. And the biggest thing about IVF is that when they do it, they fertilize multiple eggs. Well, now if your view is conception begins or life begins at conception, what are you doing with those other eggs? And they were attacking him, any attack line on the IVF. So let's listen to what he had to say about that. This is him kind of more or less reacting to IVF, which I think it was pretty silly. I don't think there was but 2 or 3 states that had something to say about this.
Treatment,
all
or
Americans
we're going,
who want it?
For all Americans that get it, all Americans that need it. So we're going to be paying for that treatment, or we're going to be mandating that the insurance company pay.
The former president not providing specifics about how the procedure, which costs about $20,000 per cycle, would be paid for. A massive healthcare expense after Mr. Trump and congressional Republicans tried multiple times to repeal the Affordable Care Act in his first term. It's also unclear how Mr. Trump plans to vote on a proposal to overturn the 6-week abortion ban in his home state of Florida.
How are you going to vote on that?
Well, I think the 6-week is too short. It has to be more time.
The Harris campaign responds.
There you go. I think 6 weeks is too short. There has to be more time. Let's never forget Donald Trump is a 1990s New York Democrat. Back then, before my time, abortion used to be safe, rare, and legal. That's what it used to be. And now it is kind of, if you say that you don't want even a full-term abortion, you're considered, they'll say that you don't support women and you're anti-choice. And I just don't, really, it's just the loudest people in the room, really, that are saying that. But unfortunately, that drowns out a lot of people. And if you look at the polling, most Americans are somewhere in between having an abortion ban, like up to the end of the second trimester, roughly, is where people are like, you probably shouldn't be doing it after that. You should have made your decision. And of course, if you do happen to go online and look at some of these pictures, I don't know how you would look at them and not say that that is a person. But that is a conversation for a different time. Here is Donald Trump taking the wind out of the IVF conversation, and also saying that the Florida law is a little too short, and he would like to, if something came across his desk, he would extend it. He's not going to do a national abortion ban. And that was the whole thing about getting rid of Roe versus Wade, was to get rid of this national conversation about abortion and send it back to the states. If Alabama wants to do one thing and New York wants to do another, you let them do that. We need to stop having everything run up to the national debate, run it to the Supreme Court, and continuing this cultural divide in America, when really these should be left up to the states. Sorry about the side rant here. Donna Bash has one job, and that is to protect Kamala Harris. Let's never forget, these people are paid actors. They're paid operatives. Never forget who Dana Bash's ex-husband is, and she says they're still friends today. Dana Bash's first husband was employed by the CIA as an independent contractor. And in here it goes into, his security clearance and everything that they have done. And he was one of the 50 or 52 people that signed a letter saying that the Hunter Biden laptop, the October surprise, that I believe also swayed the election into Joe Biden's favor in 2020. He was saying that it was Russian election interference. It was Russian misinformation. Have the letter right here. There he is, Jeremy Bash. And he was former chief of staff for the intelligence agency, chief of staff for the Department of Defense, and on a House Select Committee for Intelligence. Now, here she is, CNN, getting paid buku dollars. I read it in here somewhere. It was several $1 million to be running cover for Kamala Harris. She did an interview. Like I said at the beginning, it really wasn't a complete layup, so that was nice. However, it was the actual runtime, I think, was 23 minutes or so. And in the hour runtime on CNN, it was filled with campaign ads and commercials. So they made it seem like, oh, no, they sat down for an hour. No, they didn't sit down for an hour. They sat down and answered questions for about 23 minutes that we know of. There could have been an hour of content that they cut out. We don't know. We probably never will know. If I was them, I would have edited in that room and deleted and washed everything that they didn't want. That's exactly how I would do it if I was running a campaign. I would not let anything outside that room I did not want. And honestly, I think Kamala Harris should continue to do the basement campaign. Joe Biden won the candidacy or won the presidency last time around. You remember he had a couple rallies and like no one showed up. He didn't really get out there and speak that much because he started, people started picking up on his lisp that he had apparently for his entire life. So she can win by doing a basement campaign. Okay, the social media platforms are strong enough. The news cycle is strong enough. The disinformation on the side of the left is strong enough. You get the pop stars and all the ladies out there twerking on stage. People will vote for that. People are silly enough to vote for things like that. Look, if you want to vote for the left, that's awesome, dude. That's awesome. If you know what you're voting for. The left, if you look at the polling, they have some of the highest IQ voters, but they also have some of the lowest IQ voters. So the right actually mostly the IQ of their voters is mostly in the middle. And so obviously, you have, most people with PhDs will vote Democrat. But also most people or a lot of people with room temperature IQ will vote Democrat as well. So very interesting mix there. Never forget. I mean, these people are all connected. The news anchors, who's working in the 3-letter agencies. I hate to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but it's like right here. So here from Off Zero Hedge, love the website. You had one job. Kamala Harris blows pre-taped interview question with Waltz right next to her. Again, I wouldn't say that she blew it. I'd like to wait and see kind of what polling looks like on this specific topic and in general for the next week. I think that obviously the right was going to hate it, the left was going to love it. All that really matters is the independents roughly in the middle. We're talking about 5%. The 5% of people, what they think of these questions and these answers. This is a great one. Emotional support dog. For Kamala Harris, it really was a word salad. All right. Let's move on back to RFK getting on and off of these ballots. Winning any kind of campaign politically, I don't care where it is, maybe even down to a school board, is about lawyering. If you have better lawyers, you're going to win. So I wanted to talk specifically about some of these swing states. As you saw, RFK can get off some of the swing state ballots, some he cannot. Now, he has said many times the people that, for instance, we're going to talk about Michigan. He has stated people that are in Michigan, he wants them to vote for Donald Trump. If you are not in a swing state, he would like your vote outside of those swing states to try to get to the 5% to try to access public funding for his next campaign. Now, if you remember, this coup of Biden happened very late. Happened very, very late. And that was one thing, looking back, Donald Trump having that debate with Joe Biden, I think it was always going to happen that they were going to remove him. How smoothly and how fast that would have happened hinged on that debate. Push that debate back 1 week, the Democrats would have had to squirm even faster and probably miss some of these deadlines to get him removed. If they didn't have it at all, probably still would have happened. Okay, probably still would have happened. He probably would have came out with, the medical diagnosis or something, but it would have ate into their time. It would have pushed them into a corner and up against a wall. So to get them on or off or removed or name changed on these ballots. And so let's talk about Michigan, because there's two things that are going on here. One, RFK is trying to get fully removed from the ballots, specifically Michigan. And in Michigan, So in Michigan, RFK ran in the Law Party. So in the Law Party, he had ran. They had their convention. They had appointed him as head of that party. And now that he is on the ballot, the state of Michigan is saying no, he cannot come back and be removed. That is a little bit different than a name change on a ballot. So if you see the difference, RFK, for instance, in Michigan, he's trying to not only remove himself, but essentially that would be removing an entire party from the ballot. Those are just the laws that are in place that he went into. So that's the technicality. Now, maybe if he had better lawyers or better timing or knew that was going to happen, there would be a different outcome. However, it seems like he is not going to be able to get off that ballot. And I'm just trying here we go. Kennedy must stay on the ballot in Michigan, where he obtained ballot access through the Neutral Law Party, a minor political party, instead of the more difficult independent petition process. So he kind of leached onto this party, more or less got nominated and took over it, so that way he could get on that ballot in that state. Michigan state law prevents minor party nominees from withdrawing after being certified. And then the Michigan Bureau of Elections told Michigan Public Radio that the deadline for any changes had long passed. The Natural Party held their convention to select electors for Robert Kennedy Jr. They cannot meet at this point to select new electors since the time has passed. Okay. So there's that. It is what it is. He has asked for his supporters to not vote for him in that state. We'll see how many people actually turn out to do that. Now, for Kamala Harris's issue with Michigan, and people are saying, well, hold on, the time limit has passed to change the names, at least. Now, she would still be on the ballot. She'd just be under vice president. And then it's like, okay, well, where do those delegates go? Well, that's why the Democratic Party did have that virtual Zoom meeting to actually count the ballots for Kamala Harris to become the nominee. Spokesperson for the Secretary of State Office of Michigan said the names on the ballot are chosen by the party conventions, and this step must be done no later than 60 days before the election. So that would be September 5th. So we're coming up on it, but they've already got it done. So that way they could be delivered to military and civilians overseas. The state require electors to cast their ballots for the president and vice president appearing on the Michigan ballot. Electors who do not follow that requirement are disqualified. So unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, they have met that very, very quickly. Now, how many Democratic voters in the primary voted for Kamala Harris? If you're wondering, if you're confused, it's zero voted for her. However, she did get all the delegates. Okay, so we got a nice brat summer. RFK lost this one as well. We lost to New York being one of them, okay, where he could not get on the ballot. Right. And again, I think this comes down to lawyering. It really does. One state he loses that could support Donald Trump. He loses in that state, but then, can't get on the ballot in a state like New York where, it's not really going to sway one way or another. However, he is trying to pick up that 5%. So North Carolina election boards refused to take him off the state ballot, with the majority saying that it was too late to process him for the withdrawal. Meanwhile, the appeal court in New York rejects Kennedy's request to get back on the ballot there. So this is just unfortunate for him. I think he waited a little too long. But I will say just overall the timing was probably great when he did make his announcement. It did take the wind right out of the DNC nomination and really kind of put the pressure back on to Kamala Harris and the left. okay, we're going to bring things a little bit closer to home, and we'll wrap up. Dallas police officer killed, 2 wounded in shootout with the suspect. This is not so common in the Dallas area. We are definitely a law and order metroplex. However, you're going to have a lot of people. You're going to have these issues. And unfortunately now we have a Dallas police officer dead, found being shot in a marked patrol vehicle in Oak Cliff neighborhood Thursday night. 2 responding officers were also shot, 1 in critical condition. So the actual what happened is still kind of unfolding. Because this happened, late last night, early morning. He's probably on a traffic stop, called in for backup. Shots rang out. 2 officers roll up. He's dead. They end up in a gunfight. The suspect led officers on a lengthy high-speed pursuit following the exchange of gunfire. It came to a conclusion in Louisville, located north of DFW. So if they're in Oak Cliff, damn, that's a long way. Oak Cliff all the way up 35 to get to Louisville. I mean, that's probably 35 minutes with no traffic. So, yeah, that's a very long way to go up into North Dallas to finally get caught. Suspect was shot and killed in Louisville. So good. They killed that motherfucker. The 2 other officers have been taken to the hospital. So that's good. I would like to find out more details on the actual shooter and see what his deal is, where he's from. Was this gang related, drug related? Did he had warrants? Was he put out on parole, or was his sentence shortened, or did he have any past? Did he have any past engagements with the police? I'd also like to see if he was on any SSRIs or anything like that. This is just another unfortunate situation, and this is the reason it's hard to be a police officer. This job right here is absolutely incredibly challenging. You are, you're a civil servant. You're really, I think, underpaid in most situations. And a lot of your calls aren't really like, scenes out of Bad Boys or Cops. A lot of it is like dispute resolving, and you're kind of like a social worker in a lot of these situations. It's very, very stressful. It's very stressful to be a police officer. It's even more stressful with the larger political debate around policing, around accountability, not just for police officers, but for the suspects as well. There seems to be very little accountability for people breaking the law and their responsibility to society and the punishments that they should be receiving for that, and how long they should be put away, and how their crimes should not be bargained down to a lesser offense. We can go on for that forever, but I just really, I feel really, really sad for this, this officer's family. They're waking up today, and they'll have to live with my father. I'm assuming they haven't released a name. I'm assuming it's a guy. It could be a female. My father, my mother, is no longer with us because some fucking asshole decided he didn't want to go to jail that night for the crimes that he was committing. But that's the world that we're living in, and it's only getting worse, and that is just a simple fact. It doesn't matter if Donald Trump gets elected or not. If he gets elected, I think that crime and the border will go down. Crime will go down, and the border will be secure, even though Democrats love to point out, crime went up. Crime went up under Donald Trump. Yeah, in Democratic-ran cities where the DAs didn't want to do shit, and the sheriffs were scared to do anything, and officers were retiring and moving away to states like Florida and Texas. But nice try. But again, that's that surface level, very low IQ people that like to bite on that, and they believe that, and they run with that. In Denver, Colorado, you've probably seen this video of armed Venezuelan illegals taking over a apartment complex in Colorado. I'm assuming a lot of them have been housed there. This is all assumption. I'm assuming a lot of them have been housed there, and they're starting to use this for gang activity. And this is the stuff that they do in their country. This is normal activity for them in their country. So let's watch this video. Okay, so it appears that they're just trying to break into this one apartment. Now, whether they're, securing the entire building or they're telling people that they can and cannot go, let's open this up real quick and read this from Update. The City of Aurora Police Department has previously stated the established task force for collaborating with others. The DEA, let's see, do they say anything here, man? This looks really long-winded for nothing. Okay, they believe that it's isolated. We urge all community members, including members of the migrant community, to please report crimes committed against them to their local law enforcement agencies and not to remain a silent victim. Okay, so they're saying it's an isolated incident. Well, yeah. I mean, they only can go really one door at a time, right? But, I mean, how long are you going to let that happen? Now, if they're acknowledging that these are illegal immigrants, why are they not being arrested? We're already acknowledging that they're illegal. So they're already felons right there. And this guy's rocking some serious heat. Look at that thing. That don't look cheap. That doesn't look cheap at all. $2,500 at least. And that's if he got a cheap one. Yeah. So these are well-organized people. But Colorado has been somewhat of a sanctuary state, and so the fact that that's happening there doesn't really surprise me. But in Colorado's defense, the federal government doesn't care if you're a sanctuary state or not. They will put people on planes and buses in the middle of the night and drop them off in your neighborhoods. We've seen that plenty of times. But as soon as Greg Abbott sends them off to a really fancy island, oh no, we got to get them off immediately. That was something really delightful to see. Martha Vineyard, them get dropped off, and then within 2 days they were back on buses going somewhere else, and everyone was waving them goodbye. Like, no, we want you in our country, just not like in my neighborhood. So that was rich. I will be back tonight with a couple more updates on a few of these stories. I'm really liking to track the RFK and how he is being continuously pursued legally and ultimately financially. Now his choices for endorsing Trump. The guy can't get a break, but hopefully everything comes back around if Donald Trump wins and gives him a respectable position inside of the cabinet, and he can make the changes that him and his supporters are looking for. Thank you so much, and I will see you later.